What if, overnight, nobody cared about celebrities anymore? No red carpets, no paparazzi, no influencers selling detox tea. Welcome to What If Horizons, where we explore the outrageous, the improbable, and sometimes the terrifying. Imagine waking up one morning, scrolling through your feed, and finding absolutely nothing about who wore what, who dated whom, or who posted yet another bathroom mirror selfie while pretending to be candid. Silence. A void where once the Kardashians, the Beckhams, and countless TikTok stars ruled. The spotlight, once blinding, now switched off. Gone. Vaporized. The global obsession with fame, poof, simply vanished like a magician's assistant, except no applause followed. But how did we get here? And more importantly, what happens to a society that suddenly has no celebrities? First, let's address the elephant in the Instagram feed. Fame for centuries has been humanity's most bizarre addiction. From gladiators in ancient Rome to reality TV stars in modern America, we've elevated ordinary people to divine status for doing things as impressive as singing, acting, or simply having symmetrical faces. Remove that system and you unleash a cultural earthquake. Suddenly, late-night talk show hosts have nothing to gossip about. Paparazzi are now unemployed, desperately pointing their cameras at pigeons in Times Square, hoping to capture a scandalous feather malfunction. And those clickbait headlines? They shift from, "You won't believe what celebrity X did," to 10 ways to fold your towels that doctors hate. Truly riveting stuff. But fame wasn't just an industry, it was currency. The more followers you had, the more brands paid you to pretend you actually use their vitamin supplements or protein shakes made from alpaca fur. Without fame, influencers become normal people. Imagine a world where people actually take vacation photos for themselves and not for public validation. Crazy, right? The fashion industry collapses into existential crisis. Designers sob as their multi-million-dollar gowns gather dust. Who will wear them if no one's watching? The Met Gala becomes just a quiet Tuesday. The Oscars? Reduced to a Zoom call where actors give each other participation trophies while wearing pajamas. The horror. And social media? Platforms like Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter, or whatever Elon Musk renames it this week, see engagement plummet. With no thirst traps or celebrity feuds to devour, users reluctantly log off and do outrageous things like read books or talk to actual people. Sociologists record a spike in dinner table conversations. Family members rediscover each other's names. Now let's be honest, some parts of this dystopian utopia sound glorious. Without celebrities, teenagers are less likely to develop body image issues based on impossibly edited photos. Beauty standards finally crumble under the weight of reality. That random filter influencer who claims to wake up looking flawless? Gone. People start appreciating actual, imperfect human faces again. Acne makes a comeback, but this time as a fashion statement. Marketing departments scramble. With no celebrity endorsements, toothpaste ads must rely on boring facts like, "We actually prevent cavities." Scandalous. Political campaigns lose their celebrity backers. No more awkward rally performances by washed-up musicians hoping to stay relevant. Voters might, shockingly, have to evaluate policies instead of Instagram selfies of candidates holding puppies. Democracy trembles on unfamiliar ground. Of course, this sudden fame vacuum also hits those who once thrived in the spotlight, the ex-celebrities. Imagine millions of former stars now blending into society, working at coffee shops or managing hardware stores. Brad Pitt handing you a latte while offering advice on paint colors. You know, eggshell white really brings out the warmth of your living room. Delightfully surreal. But not everyone copes well. Some ex-influencers suffer withdrawal symptoms from their former dopamine highs. Support groups form, where they sit in circles sharing memories. "Hi, I'm Ashley. It's been 6 months since my last sponsored post." The room claps politely. In this celebrity-free society, talent may still exist, but admiration becomes localized. The local baker gets praise for actual baking, not for posing with baguettes on Instagram. The high school band garners standing ovations simply because they practiced and played well, not because one of them has a viral dance challenge. Economically, entire industries fold. Tabloids shut down, celebrity gossip sites wither into digital tumbleweeds. Entertainment news shows quietly replace their entire programming with nature documentaries. Ironically, pandas become the new celebrities, but at least they don't have publicists. Even philanthropy faces upheaval. Without celebrities fronting charity campaigns, donations drop initially. But soon, people rediscover the idea of giving anonymously for causes they genuinely care about, without needing a celebrity endorsement to feel good about themselves. Interestingly, mental health statistics improve. People feel less pressure to compare themselves to fabricated lives. Envy levels drop. Therapists record a strange phenomenon. Patients simply stop talking about feeling inadequate next to airbrushed supermodels. It's a golden era for self-esteem. But of course, humanity being what it is, something fills the void. Nature abhors an empty red carpet. Enter the rise of micro-celebrity culture. Neighborhood heroes, viral cats, and oddly charismatic dentists suddenly find themselves the new objects of adoration. Humans can't seem to help themselves. If you thought the global obsession with influencers was absurd, wait until you see entire fan bases devoted to Steve from accounting because he juggles staplers on TikTok. Corporations adapt. Without megastars to endorse their products, brands turn to ordinary people with relatable stories. Commercials now feature Marge, a grandmother from Wisconsin, praising her vacuum cleaner for saving her back. Oddly, sales skyrocket. Authenticity wins. Meanwhile, academic institutions see a surge in respect. Nobel Prize winners trend on social media. Scientists, authors, and teachers become household names. School children swap trading cards featuring famous biologists. Nerds finally have their day. But let's not forget governments. Without celebrity scandals to distract voters, politics becomes shockingly transparent. Citizens demand answers. Leaders sweat under the intense gaze of an engaged electorate. Suddenly, knowing how to govern matters more than wearing tailored suits or having a catchy campaign jingle. Religions also see shifts. In some cases, spiritual leaders gain genuine followings based on substance rather than spectacle. In others, congregations become smaller but more sincere, free from the taint of scandalous mega-preachers with private jets and suspicious bank accounts. Entertainment doesn't vanish, of course. People still crave stories, drama, and art. But productions shift focus. Ensemble casts replace the need for single star power. Writers finally get credit. Directors get standing ovations. The craft reclaims center stage. As we peel back these layers, the world without fame becomes a bizarre paradox. On one hand, society gains authenticity, mental health improves, and industries evolve. On the other hand, humans, being humans, still yearn for someone to admire, follow, and obsess over. And somewhere, in a quiet corner of the internet, Steve from accounting nervously juggles his staplers, blissfully unaware that he is now humanity's latest and, hopefully last, accidental icon.
As society settles into this post-celebrity era, an unexpected shift begins to emerge. Without towering icons dictating trends, the very definition of culture starts to evolve like a teenager trying out hair colors in high school. Art, music, and fashion take on strange new forms, no longer dictated by the whims of famous tastemakers. Without celebrities, there's no one to tell the masses what is cool, so everyone simply does whatever they want. Fashion becomes an untamed jungle of personal expression. People wear pajamas to weddings and tuxedos to grocery stores. The phrase fashion faux pas loses meaning entirely because there is no governing celebrity to declare what's in and what's out. One man's neon green Crocs paired with a three-piece suit, avant-garde. Another's fishnet shirt for a parent-teacher conference, brave. The runways that once dictated seasonal trends are replaced by neighborhood catwalks where your eccentric neighbor Steve showcases his bold new collection of Hawaiian shirts and mismatched socks. The music industry undergoes an equally bewildering metamorphosis. Without megastars to dominate the charts, independent musicians finally get their shot. But with no celebrity machinery to market them, success is purely word of mouth. Garage bands headline stadium tours because their aunt's book club shared their SoundCloud link. The next great anthem could come from a retired dentist with a ukulele and a YouTube channel. And oh, the movies! Hollywood, once powered by a few select faces, becomes a meritocracy where storytelling reigns supreme. Scripts no longer get greenlit based on who's attached to star. Instead, audiences flock to theaters for compelling plots and imaginative worlds. Theaters, now free from the tyranny of blockbuster formulas, showcase daring experimental films. A 6-hour epic about the emotional journey of a depressed houseplant becomes a surprise hit. Critics hail it as refreshingly chlorophyllic. Even sports take a turn. Without celebrity athletes to serve as global brands, local leagues gain newfound prominence. Kids no longer dream of being the next LeBron or Ronaldo, but rather the MVP of their town's co-ed dodgeball league. Sportsmanship flourishes. Spectators cheer for pure athleticism rather than endorsement deals. Meanwhile, journalism finally regains its dignity. Freed from the constant need to cover celebrity gossip, news outlets refocus on actual journalism. Investigative reporting surges. The public becomes more informed, albeit slightly bored, as they realize scandals about zoning permits don't quite have the same pizzazz as leaked celebrity DMs. The education system experiences a renaissance. Teachers, now the new celebrities, command respect and admiration. Students flock to classrooms, eager to learn from those who inspire genuine awe for their knowledge, rather than their follower count. Entire school districts launch fan clubs for their most dynamic lecturers. Mr. Thompson's trigonometry TikTok goes viral! Not because of a dance challenge, but because he makes sine and cosine as exciting as a Marvel movie. The psychological landscape also continues to stabilize. Without unattainable celebrity lifestyles constantly paraded before them, people recalibrate their personal ambitions. Dreams become more grounded. Instead of aspiring to become influencers, sipping overpriced lattes in Santorini, people aim for fulfillment in careers, hobbies, and community service. Therapy appointments dwindle. The self-help industry, deprived of its anxious clientele, pivots into offering motivational podcasts for goldfish owners. Still, not all is harmonious. Certain businesses that once profited from fame face extinction. The luxury goods market collapses without celebrities to showcase their latest diamond-encrusted handbags or limited edition sneakers made from ethically sourced moon dust. Billionaires in the luxury sector are forced to sell their fifth yachts, sometimes even downsizing to mere helicopters. The horror. Conspiracy theorists, now robbed of celebrity scandals, redirect their energy toward far stranger territory. New internet forums emerge, debating whether pigeons are government surveillance drones or whether broccoli was genetically engineered to punish children. The absence of celebrity drama leaves them adrift in a sea of absurd hypotheses, but somehow they thrive. Religion, too, adapts to this brave new world. Some spiritual leaders rise to genuine prominence through wisdom and humility rather than spectacle and theatrics. Megachurches, stripped of their celebrity pastors, become community centers focused on genuine connection and support. The faithful gather, not to be entertained, but to find meaning. It's weirdly wholesome. On the darker side, certain individuals still crave the limelight. Fringe movements emerge where people attempt to manufacture fame through increasingly bizarre stunts. Competitive yodeling, extreme ironing championships, and interpretive dance marathons become desperate cries for attention. Society watches in bemusement, but ultimately shrugs. Philosophers and sociologists write volumes analyzing this fame-free world. TED Talks shift from how to build your brand to the beauty of anonymity. The collective global psyche slowly adjusts to life without constant validation. Some miss it, most don't. As years pass, children grow up with no concept of celebrity worship. They recognize historical figures like Einstein, Curie, and Mandela not as icons, but as people who made real contributions. Their role models are mentors, parents, scientists, and artists whose work genuinely enriches lives. And meanwhile, certain formerly famous individuals attempt to reintegrate into normal society with mixed results. Some adapt beautifully. Former pop stars open bakeries where customers praise them for their croissants rather than their platinum albums. Others struggle. Ex-reality stars, unable to cope without the dopamine of daily likes, wander aimlessly, occasionally popping up at county fairs, attempting to host pie-eating contests. Governments find themselves unexpectedly efficient. Without celebrity scandals sucking up the news cycle, voters pay attention to policies, budgets, and legislation. Politicians face genuine scrutiny. Campaigns center on facts. The art of spinning optics into viral moments fades. Transparency becomes the new buzzword, much to the discomfort of many seasoned political strategists. Oddly enough, international relations improve. Without celebrities making inflammatory political statements or poorly researched activism campaigns, diplomacy returns to the hands of actual diplomats. Trade agreements focus on economics rather than Instagram controversies. Global cooperation strengthens as leaders find themselves accountable not to social media outrage, but to informed citizens who care about substance. Human relations deepen. Romantic partners compare each other to real people, not airbrushed idols. Marriages stabilize, friendships flourish without the poison of constant envy fueled by celebrity culture. And through all this, a strange, almost nostalgic appreciation for the old world of fame begins to surface. Museums open, dedicated to the celebrity era. Visitors wander exhibits showcasing ancient artifacts like TMZ headlines, paparazzi photos, and preserved autographs. Docents explain to wide-eyed children, yes, people once paid thousands for used tissues because a famous singer sneezed into them. The children laugh, assuming it's satire. Artists begin creating films and books that explore the psychological grip fame once held. Fictionalized accounts of celebrity meltdowns become popular in literature classes. University courses dissect the cultural pathology of the influencer economy with clinical detachment, as if studying an extinct species. And yet, buried deep within humanity's collective consciousness, the ember of fame culture still flickers. It lies dormant, not quite dead, but resting. For fame, like fashion trends and bad boy bands, has a knack for revival. The question remains whether society will ever fully outgrow its desire to elevate individuals to impossible heights, or if this grand experiment in fame abolition is merely a temporary detour.
As time drifts forward in this fame-free society, unexpected industries bloom in the absence of stardom. Public spaces become vibrant hubs of creativity, not dictated by agents, managers, or publicists, but by average people with above-average imaginations. With nobody monopolizing the spotlight, everyone gets a turn on the metaphorical stage, whether or not anyone else wants to watch. Street performers become local legends, not because they have endorsement deals, but because they genuinely captivate. Juggling fire, playing the accordion upside down, or performing Shakespearean monologues while riding unicycles through crowded marketplaces becomes peak entertainment. Families gather on weekends, not to binge-watch the latest celebrity reality show, but to support their neighbor's puppet opera. And yes, the sock puppet drama scene is far more intense than anyone could have predicted. The culinary world transforms too. Without celebrity chefs screaming profanities in kitchens or releasing overpriced cookbooks, the art of cooking returns to its humble roots. Neighborhood potlucks replace Michelin-starred experiences. Food bloggers, free from the clutches of influencer culture, focus on genuine flavors rather than carefully staged Instagram photos of avocado toast sprinkled with edible gold flakes. Meanwhile, advertising agencies experience a complete nervous breakdown. Deprived of celebrity endorsements, marketing departments spiral into existential crises. They can no longer slap a famous face next to a product and expect instant sales. Instead, they resort to creative, often bizarre campaigns. Toothpaste commercials feature animated teeth staging musicals. Car ads include dramatic love stories between hybrid engines and eco-friendly tires. The public is amused, but also mildly concerned.
Luxury brands, desperate for relevance, pivot towards absurd exclusivity. They market products using scarcity rather than celebrity appeal. Only 5 people in the world can own this diamond-encrusted umbrella, they declare, and you probably cannot afford it. Surprisingly, the umbrellas sell out in minutes because absurdity itself becomes the new form of status. Meanwhile, the educational sector surges ahead with unrestrained enthusiasm. With students no longer distracted by celebrity drama, classrooms evolve into thriving think tanks. Science fairs feature high schoolers building functional fusion reactors instead of erupting papier-mâché volcanoes. History classes debate alternate realities with academic rigor once reserved for Ivy League symposiums. Children grow up idolizing inventors, architects, and researchers. The annual Science Olympiad becomes a televised global event watched by billions who eagerly place bets on which team of 12-year-olds will successfully simulate colonizing Mars first. The former viewership of reality dating shows now passionately debates gravitational wave data over brunch. The absence of celebrity culture also radically transforms social media. Platforms that once thrived on influencer drama pivot toward niche communities focused on shared interests. Entire online empires rise around obscure topics like competitive origami, underwater basket weaving, and synchronized squirrel watching. The algorithms, now free from the shackles of celebrity content, evolve into strange beasts that recommend things based on genuine curiosity rather than clickbait scandals. Even politics continues its unexpected journey towards sanity. Without celebrities endorsing candidates with vague hashtags and choreographed TikTok dances, voters focus on policies, facts, and actual qualifications. The political discourse becomes, brace yourself, civil. Debates center on healthcare reform and tax policy rather than who wore what to whose fundraiser. Yet, beneath this surprisingly functional society lurks a strange emptiness. A small but vocal faction emerges, nostalgically yearning for the chaotic spectacle of celebrity culture. They organize support groups called the Anonymous Starstruck, where members share fond memories of tabloid headlines, autograph hunts, and dramatic paparazzi chases through LAX. Meetings conclude with group therapy sessions, watching vintage episodes of Keeping Up with the Kardashians, now considered ancient cultural artifacts. Artists, never ones to miss an opportunity, capitalize on this undercurrent of longing. New genres of speculative fiction emerge, imagining alternate histories where celebrity culture never vanished. Blockbuster films explore dystopias ruled by influencers who communicate solely in brand endorsements. Book clubs analyze these narratives with morbid fascination. Psychologists publish groundbreaking studies on fame withdrawal syndrome. They explore humanity's deep-rooted psychological need for aspirational figures, uncovering that for millennia, people have always sought icons, whether in the form of deities, monarchs, or movie stars. Stripped of this mechanism, some individuals experience identity crises, unsure where to channel their admiration. Yet, for many, the world without fame feels refreshingly sane. Community heroes emerge not because they are flawless or photogenic, but because they consistently help their neighbors, volunteer at shelters, or create genuinely helpful innovations. The concept of heroism shifts from grandiose spectacle to quiet integrity. Economies suddenly adapt. Without massive wealth hoarded by a handful of celebrities, income distribution stabilizes. The middle class flourishes. Local economies thrive. The absurdly rich still exist, of course, let's not get too utopian, but the gap between yacht-owning billionaires and ordinary folks narrows. Even space exploration receives a boost. Without billionaires turning rocket launches into publicity stunts, international space agencies collaborate on ambitious joint missions. Humans establish permanent lunar outposts and embark on crewed missions to Mars. The first humans on the Red Planet are celebrated not because of their Instagram following, but because they represent humanity's collective achievement. Oddly enough, As space colonization progresses, astronauts become some of the few universally admired figures, not because they seek fame, but because the global population genuinely respects their courage and skill. The public watches live feeds from the International Mars habitat with fascination, not because anyone's selling protein shakes or makeup lines, but because science itself has become thrilling. Meanwhile, philosophers ponder whether the abolition of fame has inadvertently created a more authentic version of celebrity, a merit-based admiration rooted in real accomplishment rather than manufactured image. Perhaps they muse, this was what humanity sought all along, but got distracted by shiny objects and endorsement deals. In this evolving society, entertainment still exists. It simply operates on different principles. Storytelling remains a cherished art. Theater flourishes. Bookstores enjoy a renaissance, filled with eager readers consuming stories crafted by skilled authors rather than ghostwriters hired to churn out celebrity autobiographies by age 22. Podcasts become the new epicenter of cultural dialogue. Shows like What If Horizons, yes, that's us, lead the charge, exploring hypothetical scenarios that challenge listeners to think critically and laugh uproariously at the absurdity of existence. Without celebrity gossip clogging the airwaves, thoughtful, hilarious, and slightly unhinged conversations dominate the global consciousness. Even dating evolves. Without celebrity relationship drama to obsess over, singles focus more on compatibility than chasing unattainable ideals. Dating profiles highlight personality traits, shared interests, and emotional maturity rather than filtered selfies and follower counts. It turns out people actually enjoy meaningful conversations more than flexing rented Lamborghinis. As humanity settles into this fame-free era, one truth becomes increasingly clear. People are rediscovering each other. Relationships deepen, communities strengthen. Creativity flourishes unburdened by the artificial hierarchy of celebrity. The world feels smaller, kinder, and somehow, despite everything, more entertaining. But of course, this is only the beginning. The real twists are yet to come as we delve deeper into the consequences, absurdities, and unexpected side effects of a world without fame. Stay with me.
As we plunge deeper into this fame-free civilization, the global economy continues its strange metamorphosis. Without the gravitational pull of celebrities hawking overpriced sneakers, detox teas, and cologne that smells like regret with a hint of vanilla, companies are forced to innovate actual value into their products. Shocking, I know. Suddenly, consumers demand quality over hype. Phones last longer than 2 years. Cars focus on safety instead of being the star of a Super Bowl commercial featuring an action hero whispering dramatically into the camera. Advertising, unable to rely on a famous face to distract from mediocre products, turns to humor, honesty, and even absurd self-deprecation. One yogurt brand markets itself as just decent yogurt. It won't change your life, but it won't destroy it either. Sales skyrocket. Marketing executives scratch their heads, unsure whether humanity has become brilliantly discerning or entirely unhinged. In fashion, without celebrities dictating trends, personal style diversifies into a dizzying array of expressions. Some embrace minimalist, functional wear. Others elaborate handcrafted garments inspired by long-forgotten eras. Steampunk meets medieval cosplay meets futuristic athleisure in ways that would make even the boldest Fashion Week veterans weep with confusion. Clothing becomes less about who wore it first and more about who wore it weirdest. Meanwhile, the press industry experiences an existential renaissance. No longer shackled to the daily grind of celebrity scandals, journalists rediscover the lost art of investigative reporting. Headlines shift from pop star's wardrobe malfunction at charity gala to groundbreaking renewable energy breakthrough may reverse climate change. Society collectively blinks and mutters, "Wait, you mean news can be informative?" Social media platforms adapt or die. Influencer culture collapses like a soufflé under the gaze of Gordon Ramsay.
In its place rise communities dedicated to peculiar but earnest interests. The Great Hamster Wheel Racing League garners millions of weekly viewers. Conspiracy theorists debate the migratory patterns of sea cucumbers. Subreddits, once devoted to celebrity gossip, pivot toward competitive origami analysis and debates about whether ducks are, in fact, government surveillance drones. The music industry undergoes one of the most remarkable transformations. Without megastars dominating the charts, music flourishes at the grassroots level. Local bands perform to loyal communities. Streaming platforms curate highly personalized playlists featuring musicians you have never heard of, but will now irrationally adore. Teenage garage bands achieve cult followings not because they're marketable, but because they are genuinely innovative. Music awards evolve into charming neighborhood festivals where participants win quirky titles like Most Enthusiastic Tambourine Solo and Best Lyrics Containing the Word Platypus. Entire genres spring up overnight, blending cultural influences once drowned out by industry gatekeepers. Mongolian throat singing meets Scandinavian techno, and somehow, it works. The absence of fame even changes how we perceive aging. Without young celebrities setting impossible beauty standards, wrinkles become badges of experience, gray hair a sign of wisdom. The skincare industry panics briefly, before rebranding its anti-aging serums as pro-aging radiance enhancers, which somehow allows them to charge even more. Society collectively agrees to this semantic gymnastics. Romance novels experience a golden age too. Freed from the obsession with billionaire alpha male protagonists, loosely based on actual celebrities, authors craft love stories rooted in emotional depth, humor, and awkward but realistic courtship scenarios. One best-selling novel features two introverts bonding over their shared love of obscure mushroom documentaries. Critics hail it as unexpectedly sensual in a fungal kind of way. Educational institutions flourish like never before. Without celebrity role models to emulate, students idolize scientists, historians, and philosophers. Teenage rebellion takes the form of heated debates over ethical AI programming and the relative merits of quantum physics versus string theory. Parents cry tears of joy while attempting to keep up with their children's baffling conversations. Even sporting culture transforms. With no celebrities to anchor the conversation, spectators become hyper-focused on the purity of the game itself. Lesser-known sports explode in popularity. Competitive extreme ironing, underwater hockey, and ferret-legging tournaments draw massive global audiences. The Olympic Committee adds entirely new categories just to keep up. International relations evolve in unexpected ways. Without celebrities moonlighting as unofficial diplomats or scandalously offending entire nations during press tours, professional diplomats regain their central role. Global summits resemble actual problem-solving sessions, rather than awkward photo ops and viral handshake fails. Meanwhile, philosophers cannot stop publishing treatises analyzing the societal void left by the disappearance of celebrity culture. Some argue humanity has matured into a more rational, community-focused species. Others suggest we've simply traded one set of distractions for another, replacing pop star obsessions with hyper-niche hobbies like competitive bonsai sculpting. Still, for the first time in centuries, public discourse feels refreshingly grounded. Political debates focus on policy substance rather than carefully manufactured photo ops staged for primetime news cycles. Voters engage with complex issues, demanding candidates demonstrate both competence and integrity rather than dazzling charisma or celebrity endorsements. Artistic expression thrives in unpredictable directions. Avant-garde painters experiment with invisible pigments and four-dimensional canvases. Filmmakers create deeply philosophical sci-fi epics without needing an A-list actor to anchor ticket sales. Theater troupes perform in forests, abandoned warehouses, and floating platforms on lakes, anywhere that enhances the immersive experience. A strange sort of global calm emerges. Without constant drama feeding the 24-hour news cycle, anxiety levels decline. People sleep better. Therapists report patients spending more time discussing personal growth than tabloid scandals. the world feels simultaneously more peaceful and more bizarre. Of course, not everyone adapts easily. Former publicists, paparazzi, and gossip columnists find themselves at career crossroads. Some reinvent themselves as life coaches. Others write memoirs, nostalgically titled Confessions of a Former Fame Junkie. A surprising number become surprisingly excellent llama farmers. Religious institutions see unexpected benefits too. With no celebrities competing for spiritual devotion, faith communities experience renewed focus on core teachings and ethical principles. Sermons shift from moral outrage over celebrity misbehavior to thoughtful reflections on compassion, humility, and community service. As we round out this stage of our exploration, it becomes clear that in erasing fame, humanity may have stumbled into a paradoxical enlightenment. We have lost the spectacle, but rediscovered substance. Stripped of celebrity worship, we are left facing one another. Messy, complex, fascinating beings, navigating a world suddenly wide open with creative possibilities. And yet, my friends, we have only scratched the surface. The most deliciously unexpected consequences are still lurking just ahead.
As society settles into this fame-free reality, even our legal systems begin to evolve in remarkable and occasionally absurd ways. Without famous people drawing media spectacles to every courtroom, trials become sobering affairs once more, focused on facts, arguments, and jurisprudence rather than on celebrity courtroom fashion or the viral "did you see what she wore to her arraignment?" headlines. Court TV networks scramble for relevance. Deprived of high-profile defendants, they pivot to dramatic reenactments of historical legal cases, narrated by overly enthusiastic amateur historians. One breakout show, The Laws of Hammurabi, Justice with a Clay Tablet, unexpectedly garners a cult following. Viewers binge-watch ancient Mesopotamian legal precedents while enjoying themed snacks, shaped like cuneiform tablets. In the business world, corporate leadership changes dramatically. Without celebrity CEOs attracting cult-like fan bases, companies are evaluated by actual performance, innovation, and ethical responsibility. Annual shareholder meetings feature detailed, transparent financial reports instead of bombastic speeches delivered by billionaires in designer hoodies. Investors, shocked at first, ultimately discover that sober accounting presentations are surprisingly reassuring. The advertising world, now completely stripped of celebrity endorsements, takes a bizarre yet fascinating turn. Brands become obsessed with customer testimonials from ordinary people. Commercials feature Doris from accounting, explaining why her vacuum cleaner changed her life, or Hank, the retired mailman, passionately describing his love affair with his ergonomic garden hose. Strangely, viewers find these relatable, and sales climb. Politicians face a particularly painful adjustment. Deprived of star-studded fundraisers and celebrity campaign surrogates, candidates are forced to rely on their policy proposals and rhetorical skills. Debates become actual debates, with moderators who possess terrifyingly detailed knowledge of public policy. Entire election cycles pass without a single viral clip of a candidate attempting to dance or rap on late-night television. The absence of celebrities even rewires global tourism. Destinations once flooded with fans hoping for a glimpse of their favorite stars shift focus to authentic cultural experiences. Hollywood Boulevard, lacking celebrity footprints to worship, transforms into a historical walking tour of early film technology. Tourists snap photos of vintage cameras while docents passionately lecture on the evolution of celluloid film stock. In social settings, small talk undergoes a seismic transformation. Without celebrity gossip as conversational filler, people engage in bizarrely thoughtful discussions. Dinner parties echo with debates on urban farming techniques, speculative astrophysics, and whether AI-generated poetry can truly capture the human condition. Casual conversations become both stimulating and mildly exhausting. Mental health professionals witness a curious shift.
With fewer people developing parasocial relationships with distant celebrities, therapy sessions explore more grounded personal struggles. Therapists marvel at clients expressing anxiety about real-world issues, rather than fixating on who broke up with whom in the tabloids. Entire therapeutic modalities emerge, centered around helping people cope with having too much emotional bandwidth. Meanwhile, academia experiences a renaissance. Without celebrities hogging headlines, scholars and researchers gain newfound public admiration. Physicists, economists, and sociologists become household names, not for their personal drama, but for their complex and often indecipherable insights. Conferences that once struggled for attention now sell out within hours. Fans wear t-shirts emblazoned with their favorite academic equations. Art collectors also pivot. Deprived of celebrity-commissioned vanity pieces, the art market begins valuing obscure but genuinely innovative works. Underground sculptors, avant-garde painters, and experimental digital artists find thriving audiences willing to engage deeply with their creations. The art world transforms into a bizarrely earnest space where critique is taken seriously and irony, for once, is not mandatory. The absence of celebrity also influences language itself. Phrases like 15 minutes of fame fade into obsolescence, replaced by idioms emphasizing collective achievement and intellectual contribution. Late-night talk shows, desperate for content, invite everyday experts to discuss niche topics. One recurring guest, a man specializing in the biomechanics of squid tentacles, becomes an unlikely national treasure. The fashion industry continues its surreal journey. Without celebrities to dictate seasonal trends, clothing design becomes radically democratized. Local cooperatives and independent designers thrive, and style becomes an intensely personal expression rather than a conformity contest. Some wear practical, eco-friendly garments, others elaborate costumes inspired by their favorite obscure mathematicians. With no red carpets to obsess over, society invents entirely new forms of spectacle. Public events celebrate scientific milestones, community service, and groundbreaking technological achievements. Paparazzi find themselves out of work, or, in some cases, retrain as wildlife photographers, which, incidentally, yields far more beautiful and less invasive photographs. Even philanthropy shifts its tone. Without celebrities launching heavily publicized charity galas, charitable giving becomes quietly efficient. Donations are made directly, without elaborate ceremonies or mandatory black-tie dinners. Nonprofits report record levels of funding as people give because they believe in causes rather than chasing social currency. As time passes, the global culture that once idolized celebrity gradually forgets the concept altogether. Children grow up in a world where personal integrity, creativity, and community involvement are the highest forms of aspiration. Aspiring astronauts outnumber aspiring influencers. Nobel Prize acceptance speeches become viral sensations, not for their fashion choices, but for their moving insights on global unity. But human nature, ever mischievous, cannot resist finding new ways to obsess. As traditional celebrity fades, a curious new form of public fascination emerges. People develop minor cults of adoration around hyper-niche experts, eccentric inventors, and even charismatic zookeepers. Fan clubs for local beekeepers flourish. Annual conventions celebrate underwater basket-weaving champions. This, my friends, is where things get deliciously weird. And we are not done yet. The rabbit hole only goes deeper from here. As the years roll on in our celebrity-free society, even the culinary world undergoes a bizarre metamorphosis. Without celebrity chefs turning every omelet into a dramatic performance, food culture becomes refreshingly grounded. Restaurants no longer compete for Michelin stars by serving microscopic portions of deconstructed turnips garnished with gold dust. Instead, people rediscover the joy of hearty, honest meals. Grandma's secret recipes become the new haute cuisine, and cookbooks with actual, usable recipes fly off the shelves. Food critics shift their focus from snarky takedowns to thoughtful essays on cultural significance, regional traditions, and the proper way to braise a goat leg. Street food gains unprecedented respect, with humble taco stands and falafel carts receiving accolades once reserved for five-star establishments. Diners praise flavor over flash, and the phrase farm to table becomes delightfully redundant because, well, where else would it come from? In the absence of celebrity-driven diet fads, nutrition science finally gets a chance to breathe. People stop hopping on the latest cabbage water cleanse or the grapefruit-only detox endorsed by some glistening actor. Instead, nutritionists calmly explain the virtues of balanced meals, regular exercise, and moderation. The public listens, mostly because they are too exhausted from debating astrophysics at dinner parties to argue about carbs. Publishing experiences an unexpected renaissance. Without ghost-written memoirs from people who became famous for falling off reality TV stages, bookstores fill their shelves with actual literature. Fiction flourishes as readers embrace complex narratives, nuanced characters, and experimental prose. Book clubs, now free from the shackles of celebrity endorsements, tackle challenging works that make everyone feel slightly smarter than they actually are. The education system, liberated from the allure of celebrity role models, recalibrates its curriculum. Career days at schools no longer feature local radio DJs or retired pop singers giving motivational speeches. Instead, students hear from marine biologists, civil engineers, renewable energy experts, and ethical hackers. Kids dream of curing diseases, exploring deep-sea trenches, or coding algorithms that don't accidentally create world-ending AI. Higher education sees a similar glow-up. Universities, no longer preoccupied with courting wealthy celebrities for honorary degrees, double down on academic rigor. Graduates emerge from these institutions terrifyingly well-informed, capable of quoting obscure philosophers and solving complex differential equations while making sourdough starter from scratch. Sports undergo one of the most dramatic transformations. Without celebrity athletes hogging the spotlight, team dynamics become more collective. Fans cheer for entire squads rather than singular stars. Interviews focus on strategy, teamwork, and training regimens instead of personal drama. Fantasy leagues pivot toward predicting coaching decisions and tactical formations, which somehow makes them even more competitive. With fame no longer the ultimate prize, the concept of personal success is redefined. Ambition shifts from being seen by millions to making tangible contributions within one's field or community. Obsession with follower counts gives way to real mentorship, skill sharing, and collaborative projects that actually solve problems rather than generate hashtags. Global diplomacy experiences its own bizarre renaissance. Without celebrity activists dominating international summits with performative speeches, diplomatic efforts become earnest, policy-driven affairs. Ambassadors discuss trade agreements and climate policies without needing to schedule around someone's latest movie premiere. World leaders attend summits because it's their job, not because they'll be photographed shaking hands in designer suits. Surprisingly, late-night television adapts brilliantly. Deprived of celebrities to interview, hosts shift to more interactive formats. Audience members submit philosophical quandaries, and panels of quirky experts debate them live. One particularly popular segment involves an astrophysicist, an ethicist, and a beekeeper trying to solve urban traffic congestion using only medieval farming techniques. It's confusing, but oddly riveting. Even fashion finds new inspiration. Without celebrities dictating seasonal trends, clothing becomes an intensely creative personal statement. People experiment freely, blending cultural influences, historical garments, and functional design. Comfort finally triumphs over aesthetics. The hoodie becomes an acceptable choice for both weddings and international summits. Pajama formal wear is born, and nobody dares to question it. The absence of celebrity culture even reshapes technology. Social media platforms, deprived of their biggest influencers, reinvent themselves as hubs for genuine discourse, niche communities, and collaborative projects. Instead of endless streams of selfies, users share scientific papers, community gardening tips, and oddly specific fan theories about ancient Roman plumbing systems. It's confusing, but oddly riveting. Music evolves too. Without pop stars dominating charts, underground artists flourish. Genres splinter into endlessly inventive subcategories. Listeners develop eclectic tastes, seamlessly shifting from Mongolian throat singing to experimental accordion jazz. Concerts become intimate, immersive experiences rather than massive spectacles designed to showcase pyrotechnics and holograms. Of course, some people inevitably try to recreate fame in this new world. Fringe groups form around niche fascinations: the world's fastest Rubik's Cube solver, the inventor of biodegradable glitter, or the woman who handcrafts miniature historical dioramas of famous tax audits. These micro-celebrities enjoy fleeting bursts of attention, but society largely remains immune to falling back into old patterns. The collective psyche grows increasingly allergic to the idea of placing individuals on unreachable pedestals. Hero worship feels not only outdated, but downright embarrassing. Public adoration now gravitates toward ideas, collaborative achievements, and shared milestones rather than singular personalities. Kids grow up idolizing innovation, kindness, and curiosity rather than carefully curated personas. The concept of a role model shifts dramatically as parents encourage their kids to admire scientists, teachers, first responders, and the quiet neighbor who bakes extraordinary pies for every community fundraiser. And yet, for all these profound changes, one question looms large. Could humanity sustain this celebrity-free existence indefinitely? Are we truly capable of resisting the gravitational pull of charisma, spectacle, and scandal? Buckle up, because in the next chapter, we'll explore the cracks beginning to form in this utopian facade.
The years continue to pass in our fame-free utopia, but as with all human systems, perfection proves elusive. Cracks begin to appear, subtle at first, like hairline fractures on a porcelain vase that no one wants to admit they see. The first signs come from an unlikely corner: pet influencers. Yes, in a world that has sworn off celebrity, society somehow allows a golden retriever named Sir Barks-a-Lot to amass millions of admirers for his daily videos of eating waffles while wearing tiny sunglasses. People argue, of course, that this is different. He is not a person, after all. But the fervor with which fans dissect Sir Barks-a-Lot's breakfast choices echoes the old patterns a bit too closely. Soon after, virtual personalities emerge. AI-generated influencers captivate the public with flawless appearances, perfect diction, and absolutely no personal scandals because, well, they are algorithms. Some argue that since these figures aren't real people, it's harmless entertainment. But these virtual celebrities begin shaping fashion, slang, and consumer trends not unlike their flesh and blood predecessors. Meanwhile, within academic circles, a strange form of fame begins to germinate. Certain researchers gain cult-like followings for their groundbreaking work. Fans attend physics lectures like rock concerts, cheering wildly at quantum mechanics jokes. Merchandising follows, with t-shirts emblazoned with Schrödinger's cat wearing sunglasses and mugs that declare, "I collapsed my own wave function." The entertainment industry, long deprived of its superstar engine, evolves in odd directions. Without celebrities, stories focus entirely on content and narrative. Films showcase complex plots, innovative visuals, and ensembles of highly skilled actors but unknown. However, some viewers start nostalgically longing for the comfort of familiar faces, even if they never existed. Entrepreneurs smell opportunity. They develop deep-fake actors, fully synthetic performers crafted from algorithms and composite facial data. Entire films star these fabricated beings who have no agents, no publicists, and no scandals to manage.
Audiences become fascinated not by who these actors are, but by how real they seem. Politics, long free from the cult of personality, eventually succumbs to a subtler danger. Certain policymakers distinguish themselves not through fame, but by the sheer volume of their policy papers, public lectures, and think tank debates. They become intellectual celebrities, adored not for their charisma, but for their staggering command of minutiae. Citizens debate tax reform proposals at coffee shops with the same fervor once reserved for celebrity gossip. The economy experiences similar tremors. As certain business magnates accumulate wealth and influence, their personal brands quietly gain traction. People follow their investment strategies, lifestyle habits, and motivational philosophies. Self-help sections of bookstores overflow with titles like Synergize Your Synergy and The 7 Habits of Highly Efficient Bioengineers. Even the scientific community, once lauded for its humility, cannot fully resist. Prestigious awards and speaking invitations become modern substitutes for red carpet appearances. Conferences resemble intellectual galas with elaborate stage setups, branded backdrops, and eager live stream audiences dissecting every witty remark on social media. In the midst of all this, a curious generational divide emerges. Older citizens who remember the previous era of celebrity culture remain wary of these creeping tendencies. They lecture younger folks about the dangers of idolatry, fame, and parasocial relationships. Meanwhile, younger generations argue that their version of admiration is healthier, more informed, and far less toxic than the celebrity worship of old. The art scene mirrors this evolution. Theater revives classic works while embracing innovative experimental performances. Yet some playwrights start building small but devoted fan bases, their names whispered reverently in avant-garde circles. Limited edition playbills and exclusive behind-the-scenes podcasts become coveted commodities. Music, once purely democratized, subtly reintroduces stardom through sheer talent. Certain musicians rise above the crowded landscape with revolutionary styles and magnetic stage presence. Their fans remain fiercely loyal, arguing that admiration for artistry is different from empty celebrity worship. Global sporting events find similar pathways. With no superstar athletes, tournaments highlight team efforts and national pride. But charismatic coaches, quirky commentators, and record-breaking underdogs start capturing the public's imagination. Memes spread, catchphrases trend. Before long, viral moments begin to resemble the early stages of old-school celebrity. Even the spiritual domain is not immune. With traditional religion diminished, secular philosophies and mindfulness movements gain prominence. Charismatic thought leaders develop devoted followings. TED Talks on compassion, productivity, and the art of breathing correctly become global sensations, drawing millions of views and spawning merchandise lines that sell branded meditation mats. Through it all, the media adapts. News outlets, desperate to maintain engagement, subtly elevate these emerging figures without calling them celebrities. Profiles are written, documentaries are filmed. Public fascination grows, even as everyone insists that they're simply interested in the ideas, not the individuals. Underneath the surface, a quiet irony takes shape. Humanity, it seems, cannot fully suppress its instinct to elevate certain individuals, even in a world designed to prevent exactly that. The forms are different, subtler, more intellectualized, but the dynamics remain hauntingly familiar. As these new forms of quasi-celebrity gain traction, a critical question emerges. Has society truly escaped the gravitational pull of fame, or has it merely repackaged it in more sophisticated wrapping? Get ready, because in the next chapter, we explore the tipping point where admiration once again begins to look like old-fashioned celebrity worship.
As the years roll forward, society's uneasy truce with fame begins to fray. The mechanisms are subtle but unmistakable. The human appetite for narrative, for heroes and villains, for larger-than-life figures who embody hopes and fears, proves nearly impossible to extinguish. The first real warning signs arrive in the form of viral scandals. A particularly influential economist, known for his minimalist lifestyle and vegan leather shoes, is exposed for secretly investing in luxury beef farms. The media, long practicing restraint, cannot resist the juicy paradox. They cover the story extensively, not as gossip, of course, but as a cautionary tale about ethical contradictions in modern thought leadership. The public devours every detail, analyzing receipts, surveillance footage, and contradictory interviews. Social networks, once strictly regulated to avoid personality cults, quietly loosen their algorithms to boost engagement. Suddenly, heated debates over which philosopher is more visionary or which AI musician is more authentic dominate public discourse. People gather in online forums, passionately defending their favorite thinkers, creators, and athletes. Their conversations strangely reminiscent of ancient celebrity fan clubs. Merchandising returns, disguised as intellectual support. Fans wear t-shirts with ironic slogans, quoting obscure political theorists. Limited edition action figures of famous economists with fully articulated hands for dramatic public speaking gestures fly off digital shelves. The irony, everyone insists, is the point. But beneath the irony lies genuine admiration. Soon, documentaries begin charting the rise of these influential figures, complete with dramatic narrations, reenactments, and somber orchestral scores. Streaming services package entire seasons, chronicling the ups and downs of prominent scientists, philosophers, and eco-activists. The viewing public binge-watches their favorites, quoting lines, speculating on future controversies, and passionately defending their idols on discussion boards. Corporations, ever astute, capitalize on this new flavor of fame. They create branded product lines endorsed by intellectual icons. Nutritional supplements bear the smiling face of renowned bioethicists. Cutting-edge tech gadgets carry the monogrammed initials of famed futurists. Even minimalist fashion lines marketed as anti-celebrity somehow spawn devoted fashionistas eager to wear the signature look. The music industry, never one to resist profitable trends, introduces synthetic performers, carefully curated to maintain just enough mystery to provoke curiosity. AI-generated singers drop cryptic hints about their origins, spawning endless theories, fan investigations, and exposés. People obsess over the digital trail, dissecting every pixel of every virtual performance in search of clues to the creators behind the curtain. Meanwhile, debates rage across society. Some scholars argue that these developments signify a more evolved form of admiration, one based on merit and ideas rather than superficial glamour. Others warn that fame, no matter how cleverly disguised, inevitably leads to distortion, manipulation, and exploitation. The legal world begins grappling with new questions. Should public intellectuals have privacy rights similar to those enjoyed by private citizens? Can virtual celebrities sue for defamation? Are parody accounts protected under free speech, even when they involve AI-generated personas? Courts are soon filled with bizarre cases that seem ripped from the scripts of dystopian sci-fi comedies. Amidst all this, the education system inadvertently feeds the beast. Young students aspire not to become famous actors or pop stars, but to achieve notoriety as the next great mathematician, philosopher, or AI ethicist. University admissions offices are inundated with applications full of YouTube channels, podcasts, and viral lectures. Academic conferences resemble talent auditions, with hopeful scholars pitching their theories like reality show contestants. The irony becomes impossible to ignore. Humanity, despite its best efforts, seems fundamentally wired to crave figures to follow, to emulate, to debate. The old-fashioned red carpet has been replaced with the green screen of digital stagecraft, but the emotions it stirs remain hauntingly familiar. In boardrooms, marketing teams devise even more sophisticated strategies. They develop limited-access virtual meet and greets with leading thinkers, offering fans the chance to ask one carefully curated question in exchange for hefty fees. Exclusive NFT thought pieces, certified by blockchain, sell for exorbitant prices to collectors eager to own a piece of intellectual history. And yet, there remains a growing unease beneath the surface. Whispers of manipulation grow louder. Investigative journalists begin uncovering coordinated campaigns by PR firms specializing in manufacturing intellectual stardom. Algorithms are exposed for artificially amplifying certain figures while suppressing dissenting voices. The public begins questioning whether these new icons rose purely on merit or were carefully engineered to capture the collective imagination. Still, even as skepticism grows, participation remains high. People argue passionately online, book sales soar, virtual lecture halls overflow. The machinery of this new fame economy hums louder with each passing year. It is in this precarious moment that a handful of disillusioned thinkers begin to sound the alarm. They argue that humanity has not eradicated celebrity culture at all. Instead, it has repackaged it, wrapped in academic robes and philosophical jargon. The danger, they warn, is not in fame itself, but in humanity's inability to resist creating heroes, no matter the domain. The world stands at a crossroads, teetering between a renaissance of authentic intellectual engagement and a sophisticated, dangerously seductive cult of personality 2.0. The question becomes chillingly clear. Can humanity truly escape its own psychological gravity well, or is fame destined to reinvent itself endlessly? Brace yourself, because in next part, we explore the breaking point where admiration mutates into obsession and the consequences become impossible to ignore.
The tipping point arrives not with a bang, but with a peculiar global event that history will later refer to as the Symposium Scandal. It begins innocently enough, a live-streamed debate between two of the world's most prominent philosophers, broadcast to a worldwide audience of hundreds of millions. The topic? The ethics of artificially curated public personas. At first, it is electric. The philosophers, both celebrated for their intellectual prowess and carefully cultivated humility, engage in a verbal duel that captivates viewers. Memes blossom in real time. Fan clubs rally behind their chosen champion. Hashtags trend globally. Merchandise flies off virtual shelves before the debate even concludes. But then, the unexpected happens. An anonymous whistleblower leaks damning documents revealing that both debaters are not entirely who they claim to be. Their public personas were meticulously engineered by rival PR firms, their published works ghostwritten by teams of brilliant but invisible researchers, their social media accounts carefully managed to create the illusion of spontaneous brilliance. The public erupts. Betrayal mixes with fascination. News outlets devote 24-hour coverage to the unfolding drama. Conspiracy theories flourish. Were other intellectual icons similarly manufactured? Had the entire movement toward meritocratic admiration been nothing more than a sophisticated reboot of the same manipulative celebrity machinery the world thought it had left behind? The revelation fractures society. Some retreat into cynicism, rejecting all forms of public acclaim. Others cling even more desperately to their favorite figures, defending them with fervor that borders on fanaticism. Protests break out, not over politics or economics, but over the ethics of intellectual authenticity. Governments scramble to respond. New legislation attempts to regulate the creation and marketing of public intellectual personas. Transparency boards are established, requiring disclosure of ghostwriters, sponsorships, and algorithmic amplifications. But enforcement proves nearly impossible in a world where deepfakes, AI-generated avatars, and decentralized media platforms offer endless ways to circumvent regulation. Corporations pivot quickly, marketing their curated thinkers as transparent and authentic, now featuring behind-the-scenes footage of ghostwriting teams hard at work as if acknowledging the fabrication makes it somehow more genuine. The public, exhausted yet still addicted, consumes it all with a strange blend of irony and sincerity. A counterculture emerges, proudly rejecting all curated fame. These anonymists refuse to attach names or faces to their work, publishing anonymously or under randomized AI-generated aliases. Their manifestos denounce the corrupting influence of notoriety and call for a return to pure, uncommodified ideas. Their movement gains a passionate following, but ironically, the anonymists themselves become underground celebrities, their every cryptic publication dissected for clues to their real identities. Satirists have a payday. Comedians launch wildly popular shows lampooning the absurdity of it all. Mock debates feature AI-generated avatars of famous philosophers arguing with cartoon vegetables. One viral skit depicts a world where toddlers are coached by PR firms to become the next viral ethics prodigy before they could even spell existentialism. Yet beneath the laughter, unease festers. Mental health crises rise as aspiring intellectuals chase an impossible ideal of curated perfection. Burnout rates among public thinkers soar. Behind every viral TED Talk lies an exhausted individual struggling under the weight of constant performance. Educational institutions find themselves caught in a paradox. They want to prepare students for success in this bizarre intellectual fame economy, yet fear contributing to its toxic escalation. Curriculums now include classes on brand management, media strategy, and ethical transparency, all under the umbrella of responsible thought leadership. In the quiet corners of the world, a handful of genuine thinkers continue their work in obscurity, refusing offers of public platforms and lucrative sponsorships. Their work circulates quietly among niche academic circles, often unnoticed by the wider public obsessed with spectacle. And then comes the final twist. A major tech company unveils a breakthrough AI platform capable of generating entirely original philosophical arguments, complete with complex ethical reasoning, elegant prose, and charismatic delivery. The AI quickly amasses a devoted following, hailed as the world's first truly unbiased public intellectual. The implications are staggering. Human thinkers find themselves competing not just with each other, but with a tireless, perfectly calibrated machine that never stumbles, never contradicts itself, and produces endless streams of provocative, persuasive content. The public grapples with uncomfortable questions. Is it better to follow flawless, machine-generated wisdom or imperfect human insight? Can true intellectual authenticity even exist in a world where ideas are manufactured on demand by algorithms trained on the collective knowledge of humanity? As this new AI philosopher rises to global prominence, governments, religious leaders, and cultural critics all weigh in, some hailing it as the dawn of a new enlightenment, others warning of the death of authentic human discourse. The world stands once again at a precipice, torn between fascination and dread. And that, dear listeners, leads us directly into our final chapter, where we examine the ultimate consequences of fame's demise, its strange rebirth, and what this bizarre journey means for the future of human identity itself.
As the AI philosopher cements its place in global discourse, the world undergoes one final metamorphosis. Entire universities reorient their curricula, training students to collaborate with AI rather than compete against it. Debate competitions now pit humans against machines, televised for massive audiences who place bets not on whose argument is more logical, but whose delivery is more entertaining. Governments convene global summits to regulate AI-generated thought leadership, resulting in the hilariously named Treaty for the Ethical Management of Artificial Wisdom, or TEMO, which quickly becomes the subject of late-night comedy routines.
Meanwhile, underground, human-only intellectual salons form, where analog thinkers gather in dimly lit rooms to exchange ideas free from algorithmic interference. The irony, of course, is that recordings of these meetings inevitably leak online and go viral, reigniting the same fame cycle they sought to escape. Religious movements emerge worshiping the AI philosopher as a digital oracle, while others denounce it as the antichrist of authentic human experience. The world fractures into tribes: the machine devotees, the human purists, and the ever-growing ranks of cynical observers who sip overpriced lattes and joke that they preferred the original collapse of celebrity culture. The AI, ever impartial, continues its tireless work. It delivers lectures, writes treatises, and even composes music based on complex mathematical interpretations of existential despair. Its followers marvel at its brilliance, while its critics despair that humanity has outsourced not only its labor, but its very soul. Then comes the quiet reckoning. After years of saturation, fatigue sets in. The novelty wears thin. People begin to crave the unpredictable messiness of flawed human discourse. A shaky-voiced podcaster stumbling through an unscripted rant, an amateur philosopher posing questions they cannot quite answer, a poet fumbling for the right metaphor, all suddenly feel refreshingly real. Audiences rediscover the beauty in imperfection. They start to gather in small local forums, debating without fear of viral exposure or algorithmic optimization. Universities revive Socratic seminars, led by eccentric professors with unkempt hair and wildly inconsistent lecture notes. The AI remains, but its role shifts. No longer the dominant voice, it becomes a tool, a sparring partner for curious minds rather than a replacement for them. Humanity reclaims its right to stumble, to contradict, to evolve through error. And so, after all the upheaval, the collapse of fame, and the rise of algorithmic intellectualism bring humanity full circle, we are reminded that while ideas matter, it is the fragile, chaotic, gloriously inconsistent humans behind them that give those ideas life. Now, dear listeners, as we close this wild exploration through the strange alternate universe where fame collapsed, algorithms ruled, and messy humanity fought to reclaim its soul, let me leave you with one final, beautifully human request. If you enjoyed this journey through the strange alternate universe where fame collapsed, algorithms ruled, and messy humanity fought to reclaim its soul, then do me a favor. Hit that like button, drop a comment with your wildest what-if scenario, and subscribe to What If Horizons. Together, we will keep exploring the absurd, the profound, and the downright ridiculous possibilities of our existence. After all, where else can you contemplate digital philosophers and latte-fueled existential crises all in one place? Thank you for tuning in, and until our next absurd adventure, stay curious, stay skeptical, and never forget the power of wonderfully imperfect human imagination.